Okay, so we're going to take a look at the Sidekick. We've already gone through it once, but just as a quick refresher, here it is. It's movable. Down on the bottom, you can be in edit mode. We have two different previews, and the training server, the showroom preview, is not working. So default, we use the preview. When you're in production, you want to use the showroom preview. Here's some other pieces. This is refresh, reload. And then if you want to navigate back to the website's console, you can do that here as well. We have scaffolding and a design piece, and those aren't used very much. Across the top, the main thing you're going to use are these tabs. So the first one are the components, and you could grab a component here and drag it directly into the page, and that's how you would do that. You do that off that first tab. The second tab is the page, and primarily what you might use here are the page properties. So we're going to do a couple of things while we're in here just on the basic tab, because we've gone through and talked about this already. We're just going to change this page title. Now the page title is going to show up here in the web page. It's going to be up here on the little banner up there. So we're going to call this Intuit Web Author. Call it my name. And then a couple other things that are important here on this Basics tab is this Enable Responsive Viewport. So this by default is off, and whenever you're editing in responsive mode, you'll want to enable the responsive viewport. So you're going to click that on, and there are a couple other things in here that you will want to take a look at. The public URL. For SEO and metadata, the keywords and the description are going to be important to put in there. And then one other thing, of course, you access all this under the SEO and metadata roll down, which I just happen to have on. These other tabs will go through in greater detail further into the course. So let's keep going through here. We've got, and you can see that name has changed up here. Next thing, we've got the pages here. We have, I'm going to skip to the fourth tab to the right, which is versioning. And we're going to add a version here real quick. So we're going to put more in there. We'll call this my first version. And the comments are starting point to edit. And then we're going to click Create Version. Now, versions, as we've mentioned before, are important because there's really not a reliable control Z or undo mechanism within AEM. So I just clicked Create Version. I labeled it. I got to the label by clicking on the More tab, and I added a comment. So if I went down here to Restore Versions, we could see first version. And if I was to mouse over that label, so what AEM will do is just give you a sequential label, and if you don't put a label in there, that's what it'll do. But if you want to use that for something, just to identify something at a more granular level, you can add those in there. So you can see I did that, and I put first starting point for the page, which gives me a little bit more detail. So that's what's on that fourth tab to the right. On the third tab is information. There's an audit log and permissions in here. Let's click the audit log, and you can see anytime it's been modified, and then also you can just see that this version was created recently. So that's also a good thing. This can give you a lot of information. And then the final tab on here is the workflow tab, and you've already run a workflow, but again, just to remind you that these are kind of the primary tabs, and that's the primary function of those tabs in the Sidekick.